Happy holidays, everyone. A quick note before we get started. We're excited to announce that our film, Minimalism, a documentary about the important things, hits Netflix this Thursday, December 15th, 2016, just in time for the holidays. So gather your friends, family, and coworkers and enjoy the film with each other this holiday season. All right, now on to a special holiday episode of the Minimalists podcast. Enjoy.
Every little thing you think that you need, every little thing you think that you need, every little thing that's just feeding your greed. Oh, I bet that you'd be fine without it.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
We really need to do just an entire episode of nothing but song where we answer people's questions. Because clearly, as they could tell, our voices are really good.
Or we could record our own Christmas album.
Oh my goodness. Let's do it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Minimalist Podcast. This is where we discuss what it means to live a meaningful life with less. My name is Joshua Fields Milburn.
And I am Ryan Nicodemus. And together we are the Minimalists.
Welcome to episode number 41. Today we're going to talk about the holidays. Ryan, last night I almost died. Literally, almost died. So remember, almost 3 years ago now, you wrote an essay about this. I think it was called The Days After the Crash, or Life After the Crash.
Oh, yeah.
Days After the Crash
after
was
Ryan
a short story I wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's an essay on our website called Life After the Crash. About a week before Ryan and I went on this crazy 100-city tour, where were you? You were up in Canada?
Yeah, we started in Banff, drove over to Vancouver. This was all during the winter. It's like when we got to Vancouver and told people.
It was January.
Yeah, we told people.
The worst time to drive from Banff.
Yeah, we told people we drove from Banff, and even the Canadians were looking at us like, you guys are nuts. But we made it totally safe.
Did you have snow tires? You have a Toyota Corolla.
Well, it was Mariah's car at the time. I think she had a Chevy Malibu. It doesn't really matter, but she did have snow tires.
Chevy Malibu is the equivalent, American equivalent of a Toyota Corolla.
Right, pretty much. But yeah, we were actually coming back. We were in Washington, about 2 hours west of Spokane, and it was not that bad. It was just a little slushy out, like nothing compared to what we were driving in Canada. And it was just a little slushy. Some kid and his girlfriend were driving, lost control, basically got right in front of us, and we ended up T-boning them because we had no choice. They just literally just came from one lane and then were sideways right in front of us.
Right, they were sighted, not you.
Yeah, and then they drug us into the ditch, and the car flipped. It was nuts, man. Thank God we were in our seatbelts.
Yeah, you flipped over. I mean, you could have died.
Yeah,
and it put a lot of stuff in perspective for me. I remember when that happened, man. I was so shocked. I was actually in Spokane at the time. I remember getting some call from you, and you're like, we might need a ride. I don't know what's happening. And man, it was so freaky because, I mean, the adrenaline from something like that it's
nuts, man.
It's unbelievable. So I experienced something similar last night.
Wow, what happened?
We were out Christmas tree hunting.
Yes.
We drove down to Lolo National Forest, and so you start going down these roads that the term road is used very loosely here. Now, I have a 4-wheel drive vehicle, and so we drove up just fine. It was me and Vex and Ella, and you park and you get this $5 Christmas tree permit.
License, whatever. Yeah.
It's a permit. You have to put it on the tree when you put it on your roof or whatever, so they don't think you stole it. And so we went and we finally found a tree. It took us a couple hours to find a good one for the living room, and we're driving back down the mountain or the hill, whatever, down it's a decline. And as we're driving, it just turns into ice. And it's more ice. And I don't have chains in my car because I didn't expect. I mean, it's not even that snowy out. So we got up just fine, but on the way down, I started sliding. And there's obviously no guardrails or anything like that. And I started sliding into a creek that was maybe a 6-foot drop off.
Oh, my God.
Enough to certainly flip the car. I mean, a 6-foot drop off. We're, I don't know, a couple feet from completely flipping the car.
Good grief.
And So Bex got out of the car, and we started putting like sticks and twigs and stuff in the road because we were far away from there's no cell service at all where we were.
Oh my God.
And so not only did we almost flip into the creek, but we wouldn't have been able to call anyone either. And it's dusk because it's like 4:30, and so it's getting close to dark, and it's freezing outside. And Ella, she's 3 years old, so she can't stop like talking and what's that sound? And just doing everything a 3-year-old would do, and driving me crazy because my adrenaline's through the roof. And it's not her fault. It's just me like trying to deal with this situation. And we pulled the floor mats out of the car and used those on top of the ice. And we finally found someone who was in a down toward the bottom of the hill or the mountain or whatever. We found someone who had some chains and used those to get away from this ice that was literally drifting the car into.
Man. Wow.
Yeah, so we have this Christmas tree on top of the car, and we're getting ready to just drift into this creek. And man, it was terrifying. But talk about punctuating an otherwise nice experience. Like it was a great experience for us to go out and do this Christmas tree hunting.
Yeah.
Although lesson learned, make sure I have some chains with me if I'm going to go do that again. We did it last year, but we did a completely different area where that wasn't necessary at all.
Yeah.
So next time, maybe do it somewhere different as
Isn't
well.
it weird, like living in the Pacific Northwest, and like I have had a lot of strange lessons like that of terrain and making sure I have the proper attire, and yeah, it's crazy, man.
You don't realize
I'm glad you're safe. I'm glad that you and Bex and Ella Sandwich is safe.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Are safe.
Yeah, so am I. And man, I tell you, it was terrifying. If you see my car right now, like the interior is a total mess. There's like pine needles and stuff everywhere, and you know me and my OCD ways, like everything drives me crazy. But we had to use the floor mats to drive out on, and so. Man, it was quite the experience, the holiday experience. So
Jeez, Pete.
It's a holiday I won't forget, that's for sure.
Wow.
My adrenaline still feels up quite a bit. So today, let's talk holidays. We have a voicemail.
Sweet.
We have a few of them here. Our first question is from Emily in Austin, Texas.
I am having a hard time getting into the, quote, holiday spirit this year. Normally, I feel loved and thankful and upbeat during the holidays, but this year we won't be traveling to see our family. There have been some health issues this year, a recent death in the family. How do you two get into the holiday spirit, especially while avoiding conspicuous consumption?
Well, I'll tell you what, Emily. And I'll tell you too, Josh.
Tell me.
Pumpkin pie always puts me in the mood, man.
In what mood?
The holiday mood.
Oh.
The holiday spirit. So that's a good way. Or
maybe it was some sort of kink you had. That's cool too.
Maybe some hot cocoa with a cinnamon stick in it. That's always a good treat on the holiday season. But no, I think it's a really good question. I remember, I think one of my favorite experiences as a kid, like growing up, when I started to be able to kind of do holiday stuff, like when my mom and dad split up, my mom kind of started celebrating Christmas. She took me to, in Cincinnati, they have this thing called Holiday and Lights. Mm-hmm. And it's like just like these really awesome Christmas lights where, they just do different things with them. It's, at the Cincinnati Zoo. It's really, really beautiful. But not only that, we would drive around and look at other people's decorations. Uh-huh. And like, I always loved doing that, man. Like just going around and kind of seeing how other people would decorate their homes and put a lot of time and effort into it, and just some like beautiful, beautiful decorations. Mom didn't have to do that at home. We didn't have to put up a ton of decorations ourselves to do that. We could totally enjoy other people's decorations. But, of course, the old saying is true too, Emily. It is better to give than receive. So find ways you can give this Christmas or this holiday season. Find people who you can help get into the holiday mood. Because I promise you that if you go out of your way to give your time to your community and help them get into the mood, it will by default help you get into the mood too. So there's a few recommendations I thought of.
You know what? I totally agree with the giving piece, and it reminds me, this morning I logged on to givewell.org, and they have their top charities. We've talked about them before, and I gave in other people's names for the holidays. this time around. And so instead of just donating on behalf of myself or whatever, donated as a gift for someone else. And so that allows them to also see the progress of what's going on with their gift that you gave them. So if you are buying mosquito nets to help prevent malaria somewhere, then the person that you're donating on behalf of gets an update, and they're able to then see the progress as opposed to that necktie you got them or whatever else. So totally agree with that. The only other thing that I would mention is that if you're having trouble getting into the holiday spirit, figure out what your triggers have been in the past. So like Ryan said, often it's just Christmas lights or
some pumpkin pie,
Christmas trees, cinnamon sticks, whatever you're into.
Oh, also too, I love cheesy Christmas music. Like it drives people crazy.
Yeah.
In the stores, and maybe it did when we were in the corporate world. But like when I say cheesy, I'm talking like William Shatner Christmas type carols. Like the cheesier it is, the better it is for me.
Do you remember when we used to manage some retail stores, and the one in Westchester, Ohio, the old one there on Cox Road, I don't think you were working at that store at the time. I think you were at the Mason store, but we had the Muzak, the Christmas CDs. Mm-hmm. Well, the player got stuck, and so it wasn't the one that like streamed the Muzak. You had to like replace the CDs, and they'd give you a new one each month. And so the CD player got stuck, and so we were stuck with Christmas music after the holidays, and we didn't fix it for months. So it was something like February or March. There was still Christmas music playing, and
unbelievable.
We just told people we're being very proactive, get into the spirit earlier that year. No, I think that's great. So some Christmas music is certainly a trigger. Figure out what your triggers are. For some people, it might be a pumpkin spice latte. I don't recommend that personally because it's just a milkshake that's warmed up. But it could be Christmas lights. It could be a Christmas tree. It could be decorations. It's really up to you to determine what your triggers are that get you into the holiday spirit. Find those. And also, last thing is when you're shopping, if you are doing some Christmas shopping this year, try to go out of your way to support some local businesses if you have the opportunity to do so. It keeps the money in your community, and it goes a lot farther in the community when you're supporting your local businesses. Emily, there's an entire gift-giving chapter in our book called Experiential. It's an essay collection that Ryan and I wrote over the last 5 years. We published it last year. The audiobook version just came out last month. And so I'd love to send you an audiobook version of that, or if you'd prefer an ebook or a print version, we'll send that to you as well. The entire gift-giving chapter, plus there are 11 other chapters on minimalism and mindfulness and stuff and decluttering and etc. So I hope you find some value. Happy holidays, Emily. Our next question is a unique question from Teresa over in Seattle.
I heard Joshua mention that he doesn't drink, and I'm just curious if that's been an outcome of minimalism and choosing a different life, or if that predated this experience. I live in Seattle, and people drink a lot here, so I'm looking at it for myself. And also maybe this will fit nicely into any holiday segment you do.
You know, we weren't going to include this in this episode, except toward the end, Teresa, you said this might fit well into a holiday segment. And I agree that often during the holidays, drinking is amped up and, in fact, often encouraged, whether it's the increased number of commercials, especially with football seasons on, and you see nothing but beer commercials and on while you're watching football games, or if
you're like going through the store, dude, they got the seasonal beers.
Yes.
Like, here's our seasonal wine. Here's Sam Adams seasonal pumpkin, which is horrible beer in my opinion, by the way. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, man.
So, is my not drinking a result of minimalism, or did it predate my brand of minimalism? So yes and no. I mean, I've never had a drink in my life, and I likely won't ever have a drink in my life. But that really has to do with my childhood. I grew up in a household where my mother was an alcoholic, and she started drinking when she was 40 years old. So I was 4 at the time, And our life changed considerably for the worse after that. We were poor, we were on government assistance, and I associated a lot of discontent with alcoholism in particular. And so that is deeply embedded in me, but also I know I have a very addictive personality, and so if I'm going to get addicted to something, I'd rather it be writing or creating or doing something that is valuable to me and creates value for other people, as opposed to pacifying myself drinking, because I also know that I am more predisposed to be addicted to something like that. I mean, if I started drinking now, you just might never hear another podcast, because I will just keep drinking until I can't function. Yeah, I would not be a functioning alcoholic. I wouldn't be able to function. And so I decided not to drink, but I also like to have control over my own faculties, I suppose. I like to have control over my mind and my body, and I don't need the social lubricant in order to be competent in a social situation. And in fact, situations that require a social lubricant seem to me a bit inauthentic, because we're trying to bring out our authentic selves under the guise of having this veil, this veneer of acceptability. Like, I'm drinking, and so now I'm allowed to say this stuff. I want to be able to say the things that I say. I want my everyday self to be congruent, right? I want to be my online self to be congruent with my private self, to be congruent with my public self, to be congruent with my sober self. And if I were to drink, I'd want that person to be congruent with who I am now. And so I think that's important to realize that if I ever were to drink, which I don't anticipate, but if I ever were to drink, I would want to make sure that there was a reason that I'm doing it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, God, man, it's funny because like I remember like going to your house and like either like it was always a crapshoot. Like when we were kids, like we walk home from school, like go to your house after getting cheeseburgers and having those as snacks, and then going to your house to play Toe Jam and Earl.
Sega Genesis.
Oh my God!
Is that your recommendation for later today? The
added
value
segment. Yes. But I remember like we would go to your house, and I just remember thinking like either like Josh's mom is going to be home, and she might just be making dinner.
Right.
She might be like passed out on the couch, or she may not be there at all. So I remember, like your experience with alcohol and your mom. It was a big turnoff for you, where I was the exact opposite.
Right.
It was like, for me, alcohol was not a social lubricant as much as that's when my mom would have people over, and when they would drink, that's when it seemed like, oh, they're having a good time.
The grown-ups are having fun.
Yeah, exactly. So I've always associated it with having a good time, and that is why I have always, kind of used alcohol as a pacifier or racking up $300 bar tabs. I mean, that's something that, from a very young age, I looked at it.
You're saying when you had a problem, like in your 20s, you there was a problem. I mean, racking up a $300 bar tab is a problem.
Right. Like why having that experience with alcohol is why when I was 21, 22, when I could buy alcohol, like that is what I did a lot.
Right.
And I have like significantly decreased my alcohol intake. But I will say, like, I was just up in Flathead Lake last weekend. We had like, Friendsgiving. And
what is Friendsgiving?
Friendsgiving, well, basically you just get together.
I wouldn't know because I don't have any friends. So
you get together with a bunch of friends, and you have.
What are these friends you speak
You have
of?
Thanksgiving after Thanksgiving, or sometimes it's on Thanksgiving. Like a lot of times.
I've heard the term. I'm just unfamiliar.
So Friendsgiving
like
is
second Thanksgiving.
Nah, it's okay. So there's a couple reasons to have Friendsgiving. The first reason that I can think of is, for example, I got friends here who don't have any family in Montana.
Right.
They didn't fly home for Thanksgiving, so they were literally in Montana on Thanksgiving with no family around to really hang out with. So those friends got together and they decided to celebrate Thanksgiving together as friends.
Right.
So they call it Friendsgiving. The other thing is, so you live somewhere, you have family that you spend Thanksgiving with, but you also want to spend time with your friends. So then you have like, a second Thanksgiving with just friends. That's typically like in that scenario, it typically wouldn't be held on Thanksgiving. Like the one we had, like I said, we had it on Friday, so it was the day after Thanksgiving.
That's much better than like waking up at 3 a.m. to go shopping.
Right, to go shopping.
That wasn't your Friendsgiving, right? But that's a good idea for other holidays, not for not Thanksgiving.
Friendsmas.
So, is that a thing?
I don't think so.
Valentine's Day for friends. I don't know if it's going to translate as much, but I think it's a great idea, especially because people move and they end up in different places, and like you said, they often don't have family around. And so it's a great way to connect with other people on that holiday and be grateful.
For sure, yeah. So we had Friendsgiving over the weekend, and dude, there was a lot of drinking going on, and it's like I will, I would love to sit here and say like, oh, I never get drunk, but you know what, dude? It's like we're hanging out. We're having drinks, and then the next thing you know, it's like, oh, man, I'm a little tipsy right now. You know what? I don't have any responsibilities to do tomorrow. I'm just going to go ahead and have another drink. So for me, like, that is how alcohol works for me. It's like this. I don't use it to run or to hide. It's more of like when I get that relaxed feeling, then I'm like, oh, man, if I had a beer right now, I'd even be more relaxed. And so that's what I have to look out for personally. So
when you have that trigger that – if I had this, then I'd be even more then you realize, okay, maybe there's a problem.
Yeah. And there's not, and I don't, see alcohol as a problem in my life right now, with the exception of it's just not healthy, really. I mean, there are
empty calories.
Yeah. There are articles out there like, a couple glasses of wine may be healthy, and that might be true. But if I have a couple glasses of wine every single day, I'm going to want to have more than probably just a couple glasses of wine. So for me to like drink every day is not, it's just not conducive to the way I want to live my life. It's definitely not conducive for my health. So there is this like this line that I feel like I ride when it comes with alcohol. That's why I brought up that it was a couple podcasts ago, that book How to Quit the Drink Easy. It's because Mariah and I have been talking about, for health reasons. She has a horrible like gut issues, microbiome stuff that isn't in alignment in her gut. And alcohol, if she drinks more than like just a couple drinks, it really hurts her. And for me, like if I, like over the weekend, I don't know how many drinks I had, but like Monday morning I woke up and I had like, like the rosy red cheek. Like my scalp was really dry. So there are these adverse effects that we have definitely been, kind of flirting with cutting it out. But I guess, when it comes to alcohol in general, I would just say, like, no, alcohol is not the devil.
Right.
But if it is something that you have in your life that is a pacifier and it is having an adverse effect, meaning that it is a net negative in your life, then it certainly is something that, people should stay away from. So during the holiday season, if first off, don't feel pressured to drink. But if you're someone who has, an issue with alcohol, then like if it was me, I would avoid the situation. Like if I was really, really struggling with alcohol, I wouldn't have went to the lake last weekend.
Sure. Like, or someone like me, where it's easy for me to just say no, I don't drink, and that's the end of the story. And even if you drink, sometimes you can say no, I don't drink, because you're not drinking right now, and that's not a lie if you're not actually drinking right now. So if it is posing some sort of problem, or if it sounds like, Teresa, it's raising a red flag for you. And this is where I said, no, it's not about minimalism for me, but somewhat is. What Ryan on the last episode talked about, what is minimalism really? It's the intentional use of your resources, right? You're using your resources more intentionally. And so one of those resources might be your health or your time or your attention. And if you are being very deliberate with those things, it might mean that you don't want to drink right now because it is occupying a space in your brain that you don't feel that it should be occupying, and it has raised a red flag for you. And if that's the case, then yeah, you can give it up. I mean, I do these experiments all the time with other things that I give up, whether it's internet at home or a cell phone or television, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of them revolve around technology. Sometimes it's around having a car or whatever it may be. You can do that with anything in your life to see whether or not it's adding value. It's not depriving yourself of of something that's vital, what you're doing is removing it so that if you do bring it back in, you can do so more deliberately. Teresa, in our book, Everything That Remains, the whole first chapter kind of talks about our childhood growing up and in that situation. I was going to read a little bit, but it's a long snippet, so I won't do that here. But Teresa, I'd love to send you either an ebook version of that or the print version of our memoir, Everything That Remains. It was really about the first or the last 5 years of our lives, going from these suit and tie corporate guys to becoming the minimalists. But to set that up, we had to sort of talk about our troubled past and go to a lot of detail of our childhoods and teenage years, etc. So I hope you find some value in that book, Teresa.
Dude, I was just thinking.
What's that?
When I was, when I got divorced at like 22, I moved in with one of my friends. We were roommates, and we drank every single day. And I was just thinking about the amount of alcohol we consumed. It was at least a case of beer each every single day. Like that.
What?
It was unbelievable, man.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Well, my doctor
crazy.
said, he said to me that if you have, and I don't know what the actual stats are on this, or people may disagree, but my medical doctor said that if you're drinking 4 times a week, 2 or more drinks, that's what they consider to be an alcoholic.
Oh, okay.
So 4 times a week, 2 or more drinks a day. Now, how do you define drink? Is it the big gulp from 7-Eleven? I think it's 8 ounces of alcohol. But with wine, I would assume it'd be less than that.
Right, or like liquor.
4 ounces.
An
You're
ounce.
way less, yeah. So I don't know. Whatever the serving size is would be 1 drink. So if you're doing 4 times a week, 2 or more drinks, that is the line that they determine for alcoholism. And so maybe think about that as well. We have another question here. This one is from Sarah in Canada.
With regard to the holidays, my family's carried on with some traditions that I don't feel add much value to my life anymore, like buying lottery tickets as stocking stuffers and making 10 different kinds of cookies to eat when 1 or 2 would be plenty. And I was wondering if you had any suggestions on how to broach a conversation with them about changing those deeply rooted family traditions that have been going on for almost 30 years.
Sarah, yeah, this is a tough one, right? Like you go to someone's place, they give you a bunch of gifts, or they here, take all these leftovers, and it feels really, really bad to say no. Her question was how to kind of start that conversation. I know that I've started that conversation a lot, and the best way to do that, first off, is to show someone and tell someone how much you appreciate them, whether it's a friend or family member. Explain how much you do appreciate their sentiment. You do appreciate their attention. You love them very much. But, when they have certain actions, for example, at the holidays when they are making a bunch of cookies and giving a bunch of stocking stuffers, that you feel overwhelmed when you're around things like that. And explain to your family member how it would really, really help you enjoy the holiday more if you didn't have to participate in every single event, and if you didn't get as many gifts, or if you weren't forced to take home as much food or leftovers or whatever, and that helps a lot. Just kind of having that conversation. And I know I talked about this on a podcast or 2 ago as well. Whenever you are having conversations like this, don't ever use the word "you" in a negative way. Anytime you use the word "you," it's I love you, I appreciate you. And then when you want to talk about something negative like the holidays are overwhelming, then put it on yourself. I feel overwhelmed during the holidays, and I really need some support. And usually family will react well to that. And, as I was like kind of thinking about this response to her voicemail, I thought, well, so I go to a family member and I say, hey, I feel really overwhelmed. It would really help me enjoy the holidays more if I didn't participate in this stuff. Well, the family member could come back and say, well, it would really make my holiday better if you did participate.
Right.
So it's like, what do you do in that situation? Well, I think in that situation, you can find a common ground, meaning that you both want to enjoy the holidays. So how can you come to maybe a compromise to the holidays? So or a compromise for the holidays. So with Sarah's example, maybe it's okay, can you please just pick one? Either, give me 1,000,000 different cookies, or, go ahead and give me lottery tickets and the stockings, but please don't give me everything.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's important to note here that some traditions are fairly innocuous. Baking cookies is an innocuous tradition. Yeah. Where it becomes problematic is us eating a bunch of cookies, right? I mean, it'd be very difficult for you to get me to eat even a cookie at this point, because I'm so focused on my health that it wouldn't align with my values. And so, no, I won't step outside of my values to eat a cookie to appease someone and their tradition. I will thank them if they give us cookies and say thank you and be grateful for the gesture, because they're attempting to in some way add value to my life. But I also think it's important to notice that, or to note that traditions are by definition not flexible, because they are a tradition. And it can be a very long-term tradition, but also keep in mind that you can start new traditions. And so if you're really struggling with the existing traditions, then the best way is to not say, get rid of these traditions, or what are the new traditions that you can bring into your life? And so I talked about Christmas tree hunting. Like, that's a new tradition that I've started. I never did that. It took 34 years of my life before I ever went Christmas tree hunting, which first time I went was last year. And since then, of course, I will continue to do that, hopefully in a more safe way next year. Yeah. But there are other traditions that you can start as well. What is it, hiking or building snowmen or snowball fights? So that's the other thing we did yesterday when we were up on the mountain is Ella loves throwing snowballs at us. She also loves to make a snowball. She doesn't want us to make it. She'll make the snowball, hand it to us, and ask me to throw the snowball at her after she's made it. And so I have a lot of video of me just pelting Ella with snowballs. Yes. Occasionally I just stick a rock in the middle of it.
Oh my goodness.
I'm kidding.
He's joking, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So, but no, you can, so maybe it's snowball fights. Maybe it's ice skating. You won't get me ice skating. Although that's not true. I was 28 or 29 and went ice skating for the first time as an adult. I'd gone a couple times as a kid and almost killed myself several times. So you won't see me ice skating, but I at least tried it. So you can try new traditions as well. So it could be Christmas movies. Ryan mentioned the cheesy Christmas music, but when I think of this time of year and traditions, quite often I think of all the nostalgic Christmas movies that I saw from the past. Or you could watch new Christmas movies as well. In fact, one of the traditions I had for a very long time, and may even bring it back, was I would go to the movies on Christmas Day after all of the shuffling around. So when I was married, we'd go from... It was not the most optimal experience. We'd go from my house. We'd have Christmas, I don't know, was it brunch? I don't know what it was. Christmas brunch, and then we'd have Christmas lunch, and then we'd have Christmas post-lunch celebration at Carrie's family, and we'd go to 3 or 4 places on Christmas Day. But afterward, once all the chaos was over, we'd go see a movie. And I always make sure I thank the people who were working that day and say, hey, thank you for being here. I know that it's not the most optimal time for you to be working, and just appreciate the fact that you are here. So start new traditions. I don't know if you have any other traditions that come to mind, Ryan. Next weekend, Becca's taking Ella skiing with her whole family. Nice. I won't be there skiing because I've tried the whole snowboarding thing, and my body just doesn't agree with the laws of physics.
I felt so bad when I took you snowboarding. Remember, we just ended up getting tubes and sledding down the hill.
That's fun. So
that
tubing,
awesome.
That's a good tradition that anyone could do. So especially kids that may not have the aptitude for skiing, or 6'2" adults that don't have the aptitude for skiing. That certainly helps. So find a tradition that is ideal for you and replace some of these old ones, because like I said, a tradition is not flexible, but they are replaceable with new, better, more empowering traditions that you can carry forward into the future.
Yeah, and I think one thing too is it's okay to support traditions that you're not 100% on board with. For example, I'm going back to the cookies. Let's say that I go to a family member's house, and just like Sarah's, they've always got 14 different kinds of cookies out. I don't have to eat those cookies,
right?
And even if some are forced upon me to bring home,
right?
I could always give those cookies to someone else who would really, really enjoy those. But going through that whole process and experience, going to your mom or dad and saying, wow, this is a really nice spread of cookies.
Yeah.
You always do these cookies are so beautiful.
Right.
And the cookies that you give me, I'm always able to share those with others, and they really appreciate them. So, and I'm just using that, the cookies as an example here, but finding ways to support other people and their traditions that make them happy. I mean, that's also a good way to kind of help create closer bonds, but you can still abstain, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. And I would say there are some traditions that are more pernicious than others.
Right.
We're recording this the last day of November. It's not going to post for about 2 weeks, but we're recording this the last day of November, and so Black Friday was not that long ago, right? It was what, 5 days ago, or
less than a
something.
week ago.
And then there was Cyber Monday, but then there was a really good yesterday, the day before recording this. There was Giving Tuesday, right? Which is a new thing. Now it's weird that we have
seems unbelievably crazy though. Buy. Okay, now it's time to give.
Yeah. So. But
how about you give me a break? I'm just kidding.
You know what? I think that the tradition of getting up early to go shopping is a tradition that we can replace with something else. So maybe you get up early to do something different. The whole opt-out side thing has been a big thing. Now it is promoted by many retailers, so it's questionable as to what the motives are there. But I can tell you places like REI that close on Black Friday. That is, I applaud that, right? Because
awesome.
They could do a lot of business on that day, and instead they choose not to. And
Patagonia, did you see what they did?
No, I've seen several things that they've done in the past. What did they do recently?
So they did do Black Friday.
Okay.
Had sales. Mm-hmm. They made over 10 million, I think, on Black Friday. Donated 100% of it to charity.
Oh wow, that's great. And they're doing some other really cool stuff now. With they're recycling down from old jackets.
Oh yeah.
So they're just they're a very intentional retailer. Which those two words sound like an oxymoron at first, but there are good local businesses, but then there are also some large corporations.
Yeah.
A lot of B Corps as well.
Dude, we need jackets in Montana.
Yeah, indeed we do. And so yes, you can say no to these other traditions that you perceive to be pernicious or harmful to you, but then the other ones that are innocuous you can replace with something that you find more meaningful.
I just had this thought. So how we always say, with your time and resources, you say no to a lot of things so you can say yes to others.
Yes.
In this situation, I think it's the opposite. I think you say yes to as many traditions as you can. So then you can go to your family members and say, hey, I participate as much as I can, and that kind of gives you leverage to say no to other traditions.
Well, it's funny. Becca's dealing with this right now with Ella, her family. So they do a sibling gift exchange, so they're not all forced, because she's one of 4 siblings, and then her 2 parents, and so they're not all forced to buy gifts with each other. The 6 of them just have a sort of exchange where it's the white elephant kind of thing, where you get someone's name and you give them a gift. Well, Bex opted out altogether. She's like, yeah, I don't need anything. I don't need any physical gifts. Thank you. But she opted Ella into the gift exchange.
Oh, okay.
Right? Which was really cool until the entire family pushes back and says, well, we all want to buy a gift for Ella. Oh. And so what we're dealing with right now is, I said, that's fine, but let's encourage the right kind of gift giving. Then let's put the burden back on the gift giver, the person who wants to give the gift, because we want them to feel good about the act of giving. But let's encourage them. Let's steer them in a direction of giving an experience as opposed to a physical gift. And so it's all about framing. Instead of saying, no, I don't want you to buy a gift for Ella. I mean, that's just bad for everyone. Why not say, yes, we can start this tradition of gifting experiences for Ella, because she has all the toys that she needs right now.
Yeah, it's funny because people think kids always need more toys, and kids open a present, they get excited when they see a toy. But really, kids get excited when they open anything.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be a toy.
Ella just started chewing gum recently, and she's just getting used to it. She's trying to figure out the whole chewing gum and not swallowing it. And I tell you, she gets more excited about unwrapping that pack of gum than just about anything else.
I saw this YouTube video of this kid for his birthday as a joke. their family put a banana in a gift bag and put like tissue paper on top of it.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, this is from all of us. And they handed him the bag. And he pulls out the tissue paper and he pulled the banana out. And I have never seen a kid so excited about receiving a banana as a gift.
I haven't seen that one, but I did that with Ella on her birthday.
It was supposed. That's great,
but
man.
not a banana. It was a pineapple.
It's supposed to be like this. It was supposed to be this joke, like, oh, we're gonna make the kid upset, but then we're gonna actually give them the real gift. But it ended up being like this really amazing lesson, and like, wow, like kids, no matter what they're unwrapping, they're just happy to have the attention. They're happy to have the love. They're happy to have the family around. And it doesn't have to be some amazing, toy that lights up, some kind of Voltron thing that I would have wanted for Christmas when I was a kid. But like, it doesn't have to be that, though, necessarily to be a meaningful experience.
It was supposed to be a joke, but the joke ended up being on them and their expectations.
Right, yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that's important. I'll do that with Ella, all kinds of stuff, like whether it's – she can't read yet, but I'll get her cards sometimes, and then like she'll have Bex read the card to her like a million times because it's – strangely more meaningful to her than any, I don't know, Peppa Pig doll that I could get her or whatever the latest kids toy is.
So is she excited about the pineapple?
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
She was more excited about the balloons that I got her, but she just loves balloons. But yeah, she was totally excited about the pineapple. And like, yeah, you could tell it was a pineapple. It was wrapped up all goofy and like it was in the shape of a pineapple.
That's great.
But you're right, though. She loved what she was really excited about was the act of unwrapping that thing. And she's excited about unwrapping a pineapple or a piece of gum or a toy or experience. Let's create those experiences for the kids as opposed to just fulfilling a cultural expectation. All right, we'd love to hear what you have to say, of course. So if you have a comment about the holidays, including minimalism tips for how you handle the holidays, leave us a voicemail, 406-219-7839. We'll air our favorite comments and tips on the next episode. And here is a tip for you. Write down your message before you call in. That'll help you articulate your point, and it will increase your chance of being on the show.
Okay. You know what time it is, Millie.
What time is it?
It's time for hashtag Ask the Minimalists Lightning Round, where we answer questions from social media.
We are on Twitter and Instagram at The Minimalists and Facebook.com/The Minimalists. And during this lightning round, Ryan and I do our best to answer each question with just a short, shareable, less than 140-character response. We'll also put the text to these minimal maxims in our show notes so you can copy and share our pithy answers on social media if you'd like.
All right, our first question is from Levi. He asks, during holiday events, how do you maximize your contributions to family festivities while being mindful? Well, here's what I would say. I'd say the best way to contribute is to accept, support, and appreciate your loved ones.
Yeah, amen, man. That's totally agree with that. If you're trying to contribute, you have to first understand the person. In order to understand them, you have to do exactly what you're talking about there, Ryan. For me, just 3 B's for you. Be present, be attentive, just be. So if you're going to be there for the holidays, be there, right? And so I think that's an important thing to remember. We're not off, browsing our Twitter streams or whatever it may be. Just be there.
Yeah, leave your phone in the car during the holidays.
Absolutely.
Hang out with your family, not with your phone.
Amen. Yeah,
man. Cassie, she writes in, would you please talk about how everyone rushes around all stressed out, complaining about how busy they are during the holiday season? I hate that. Busyness doesn't always equal productivity, and it certainly doesn't always mean adding value.
Totally agree. My tweetable response would be, busyness has become a status symbol, but it is a vacuous endeavor. Busy is the foulest 4-letter word in the English language. And so, yeah, Ryan, this is a time of year where a lot of people do feel busy. I remember back when this was the worst time of year for me a decade ago, right?
These are like where the 80-hour weeks kicked in for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Minimum
maybe,
80 hours a
maybe
week.
even more.
It was often 100-hour weeks. On Black Friday, I'd work 16 to 18 hours in one day. And so we were in the throes of the holiday shopping season, and it was a very stressful time for us. But I know it's stressful for other people for different reasons. If they're not working in retail, it could be because finances are tight, and we have these expectations. And the average person spends nearly $700 a year on Christmas, and we can't afford all of us to do that. And so what are we doing? We're racking up debt and trying to pay it off throughout the year. And the cycle keeps us busy. It makes us have to work more. It focuses our attention in places where we don't want to focus. And so we need to be careful about busy and find a way to be more focused on the holidays that are right here in front of us.
Carla writes, can you talk about those of us who don't have many friends and family? Loneliness and isolation is real for a lot of people, especially during the holidays. You know, this question like really just made me feel for Carla because I'm as an extrovert imagining being in kind of a vacuum where I didn't have a support group or community people around me, like that would really it would just have negative effect on me. But you know, I would say, are you feeling lonely this holiday season? The best way to create a bond with your community is to contribute. Soup kitchens would love your help. So just going out and adding value to the community, that is one way to
connect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, a few years ago, while we were on our holiday happiness tour, man, I guess it was 4 years ago now, and we weren't home for the holidays. We were in Vancouver, Canada. And what we were doing was we got just a group of readers together and brought them all to not a soup kitchen, but a food bank, and helped work the food bank for Christmas Day. And it was a good opportunity to connect with all those people, but also just to connect with a community that needed some help. And so you can certainly do that. Ryan and I have worked at a lot of soup kitchens or Habitat for Humanity and places like that, and they would love your help, but not just during the holidays. Throughout the year is a great way to connect with others. So if you're missing that connection during the holidays, do it now. If you need a connection other times, do it then. My pithy response for Carla is lonely and alone are not synonyms. Sometimes a crowded place can feel the most alone. So remember that as well. So just because you're around other people doesn't mean that you're connecting to them as well. A connection takes more than just proximity.
Emily asks, how do you decorate your home to look festive without a bunch of stuff? You know, a bunch of stuff or not, I think that's the wrong question. The meaningful question is, what adds the most value to your life, Emily?
Yeah, I agree. I would just say a simply decorated home is the most elegant home. And to expand on that, I'll just say that, you know, I've got a house tour coming up on our site soon, and Ryan's just posted recently. You can take a look at our home, and it's fairly sparsely decorated, but that makes any of the decorations, whether it's a piece of artwork or the Christmas tree or the lights or the ornaments or whatever, it makes it that seem far more intentional and enjoyable because of that. And so while we may not have decorations strewn everywhere, we do have some Christmas lights, we do have a Christmas tree, we do have stocking. You know, we have things that were decided on intentionally, but because it's so simple, to me at least, it feels like it's the most elegant choice.
Yeah, I mean, I know people who, like, I had an ex-girlfriend whose mom would put out like hundreds of Santa Clauses. Right. Like as many Santa Clauses as she could put out for decorations. Uh-huh. It was gorgeous. Uh-huh. Like she did it in a very intentional way. They were throughout the whole house, and I thought it was really, really gorgeous.
I think the key there is intention then.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
She didn't just like go buy a bunch of Santas and drop them on her lawn or something.
Right. It wasn't, there was no tackiness at all with the decorations. Like
because it was intentional.
Because it was intentional.
Yeah.
So, you know, being a minimalist doesn't mean not having Christmas decorations. It doesn't mean not having, you know, paintings on your walls. It's funny, when at my house tour, like one of the biggest criticisms was, oh, this is unbelievable. He has stark white walls. I can never live there. And it's like, well, you don't live there. I do.
Yeah, it's funny. Beck's mom was in town, and she came over to the house, and she's like, this is just too sparsely decorated for me. And she's like, that's okay. Like, I'm not trying to get you to live this way.
You don't have to have spurs. Well, if you want to put a bunch of pictures on your walls or a bunch of Christmas decorations, great. I would just say, if you want it to be beautiful, then make sure it's deliberate and you're not just strewing stuff across your place for the sake of it.
Someone asked, "Where's all your artwork?" And I said, "It's at the museum down the street. I get to enjoy it whenever I want. It's really awesome, and they often change it out, and I don't have to do any work." But that said, just because I live a particular way, it doesn't mean I'm prescribing it to anyone else. And I think that's where people get caught up. We have a very good minimalist friend, Jess Ness, who actually helps us with a lot of our social media, our Facebook stuff. If you see a lot of the articles that we post, she goes out and finds articles about simple living and simplicity and intentionality. Her and her friend Melissa also run a great podcast called The Mind Palace, and she's an artist. And so you go to their home, and there's artwork all over their walls. It's sparse otherwise in terms of decorations, but she has a ton of art all over her house. And that's just because that's what she finds the most value in, and that's great. So can you be a minimalist and have a ton of artwork and Santa Claus figurines? Yeah, if it adds value to your life. And so ask yourself that question.
Jennifer writes in, how do you manage holiday schedules with all the potlucks, parties, and get-togethers? Jennifer, party invitations are just that, an invite. You get to decide what you do with your time.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, man. I think what we get caught up in is letting everyone dictate our schedules, right? And so my short answer is say no to almost everything so you can say yes to that which is most important. And so if you're asked to go to a million functions, a million networking events and holiday parties and everything else, say no to everything that you can say no to. So the ones you say yes to, you'll get the most value from, and you'll also be able to add the most value to those functions because you'll be present. You will actually be there, and everyone will enjoy your presence because of that.
Becky asks, I don't want my kids to believe in Santa Claus. How do you keep the magic and fun in the holidays without that tradition? I'm not a, practicing Jehovah's Witness anymore. But I still don't want to lie to my kids about Santa Claus.
Right.
So this is kind of like a tricky subject, but I'm really glad to hear other people out there besides a religious group is intentionally saying, okay, I don't want to lie to my kids. What else can I do to combat that? What I would say is kind of Josh touched on it earlier. There's always room for new traditions. What matters most is that your family knows you love and support them.
I agree. If I were to add to that, I would just quickly say honesty is the bedrock of the most healthy traditions.
True.
So you think about Santa Claus. I don't want Ella believing in Santa Claus either. And Becca and I were just talking about this recently because it's that time where other kids around her are being told that there's a Santa Claus. And I also don't want her to be you when you were 5 going around telling everyone there isn't a Santa Claus.
Yeah, there's a balance, right?
Yeah, and trying to upset other kids just because, and I understand why, because you're different and you don't want to feel left out, right? You want to be significant, but you also want to have this connection with other people. And if everyone else believes in Santa Claus except your kid, you're going to feel disconnected, and that's not a good thing. And so the balance that I found is, yes, we can talk about Santa Claus. Santa Claus is for me, is a fictitious character, right? I can look at Santa Claus and say, well, that is a story that's made up, and it's a fable, and I can communicate it the same way to Ella that I would communicate Peppa Pig. She doesn't think you probably don't have any idea what Peppa Pig is.
I have no idea.
It's just British family of pigs that Ella is obsessed with, and we instead of on Sunday mornings we let her watch Peppa Pig, and so. She believes that Peppa Pig is a story. It's an animated fiction. And I'm okay with her believing that Santa Claus is also an animated fiction. It's just a story. And that's really the way that we approach it. And that's the most honest way for me to approach it. It's not depriving her of that story, but it's also not lying to her and saying that some fat man breaks into our house on Christmas Eve and reverse shoplifts under our Christmas tree. Okay, well, now it's time for our added value portion of the show. This is where we each recommend something that has added value to our lives recently. Ryan, I'm going to call an audible here because you mentioned Christmas songs. I have a Christmas playlist on my iTunes or Apple Music, whatever you call it. And one of our favorite musicians finally wrote a Christmas song. His name's Andrew Bell. He had 2 new singles come out this year. One's called Dive Deep, and one is called You. But then he has this new Christmas song. So we'll put a link to that Christmas song in the show notes. It's actually a really good song. I didn't even know it was a Christmas song at first until I started listening to the lyrics.
Have you heard the Killers Christmas album they put out?
No.
Dude, it's great.
Is it really?
The first song on it is called, I don't know if it's called this, but like the chorus is "Please Don't Shoot Me, Santa." But like, it's like a Christmas album from the Killers, like, and they put their twist on it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
You gotta like the Killers to like it. I mean, it ain't no William Shatner Christmas carols.
Yeah, but what is? And, if you're going to go to see a movie on Christmas Day or anytime during the holidays, a movie I saw recently I really enjoyed was Moonlight. It was over at the Roxy, at the Indie Theater here. It's gotten really good reviews, and rightfully so. It was just a gorgeously done 3-act movie. Follows his character's life. A black man who grows up poor in Miami, Florida, and struggles with being a gay kid in a culture that just didn't accept him. And so I found that the movie really compelling, and by the end of it, you kind of feel for his struggles. It has very little to do with him being a gay man, and it has just more to do with the struggles of humanity, and that happened to be his particular struggle.
I got 2 recommendations this episode. Last night, I had it was a small game night. There were only a few of us over.
There were only 17 people at his house.
Right. No, it was just a few of us. And we were playing this game called Civilization. And it is, if you know how to play, the game takes like 4 or 5 hours to play. We didn't know how to play. So we were like 4 hours.
Was the first time you played it?
Yeah, first time I played it. We were 4 hours into it, and we weren't even halfway through the game.
What's the object of the game?
The object of the game...
to take over the world?
No, the object of the game is...
I don't want to play then.
The object of the game is to build a civilization, and there are
then take over the world?
There are several ways to win, whether you dominate certain resources. No, I mean, the only thing that this has in common with like a world takeover game like Risk is that it's a big map with a lot of pieces, but it has way more rules, and it's not about just battling other civilizations. It's about making your own, collecting resources. But that's what's kind of cool about it. It's like, because the one thing that I hate what happens during certain games like Monopoly is like, I remember when we were kids, I don't really play Monopoly anymore, but I remember when we were kids, like maybe 20% of the time, like the board would end up like getting flipped over because you get so angry at one another for everything. But with Civilization, it's like you are working against each other, but it's not in like a direct attacking way. So it's like
it's more passive aggressive.
Yeah, it's more passive aggressive, but it's a lot of fun. I don't really know how to. I was trying to think like, how the heck am I going to explain this game? And I really don't know how. But I'm not necessarily recommending Civilization, but what I am recommending is that you could potentially buy a board game, something like Civilization, gift that to someone, and create an experience during the holiday season with family and friends. And it's, an experience that you can recreate for as long as you have that game. So anyone out there who's looking for, like a good Christmas idea, who they want to get a physical item, they want to give it to someone, I think that's a very meaningful gift, man, is like getting someone a nice game.
What about Cards Against Humanity?
No, dude, that was fun.
So we tried to get that last year for Christmas time, and that idea got poo-pooed up the chain. When I ran it up the chain, I guess they weren't ready for Cards Against Humanity. The funny thing is, we've played that with some of our audience before. We've been out on tour, and all of a sudden we'll be at, say, a coffee shop across the street from the venue, and then someone recognizes us, and then we'll just break out the Cards Against Humanity, and you get to learn the darkest side of other people really quickly in that game. So it's a fun way to learn the depths of someone's personality.
Well, and it gives you an excuse to, like, be totally inappropriate.
Yes.
And without any consequences, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Which is
it's like virtual reality.
Yeah,
but
it's
with cards.
Yeah, it's like it gives you that freedom. The other recommendation, dude, I don't think I told you this.
What?
So a couple days ago, Mariah and I went and butchered a lamb. Actually, Mariah didn't go. It was me and Mariah had to stay back and watch her grandmother. So I went and butchered a lamb. But her mom and I went to a friend's house, and she was selling whole lambs, and we basically like chopped it up. Now I butchered it in like the pejorative sense. It was not like nice cuts. It was kind of hacked up. But what I'll say about that experience is, like, we've had a couple meals out of it. Dude, I appreciate the meat so much more, like putting the work into it.
Wow.
I wasn't actually there for like the slaughter. It's not like, when we showed up, it was skinned and like all the guts were out of it and stuff. But it really, not just helped me appreciate the animal more and where that food was coming from, but it was a really just educational experience on, okay, like, especially living in Montana in the middle of nowhere, it's like, all right, if I was to hunt an animal or something, like, this is kind of an idea of how I would cut it up or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think there's a huge disconnect with our food. I have, like, literally, I've seen instances where someone has a steak in front of them and they're eating the steak, and someone mentions like how, if you like that steak, you'd love the steak from the cows that I raise. I make sure that they're grass fed, and then like someone who's eating the steak will look at them and say, "You kill those poor animals."
Oh my goodness!
I mean, there's just like this huge disconnect.
It's such a disconnect. You're true. I mean, it's true because we've made getting food so easy in our society. Because you just go to the freezer section of your local grocery store
and pick out a slab of meat,
right?
And you have no idea. And I feel like in order for me to eat meat, because I just started eating meat. It was last year. Beginning of the year, I make sure that I am being as responsible as I can with that food. And a couple of days ago, I took it a step further, where like I went out and pretty much like made my participated in making the food, I guess, to another level. But yeah, I would my recommendation is not to go butcher a lamb, but get more connected with your food. And maybe that does mean going out and like my mom, she took my brothers out to a pork packaging plant, and she basically was like, "Hey, to my little brothers, like, hey, this is what you eat. You have to know where it comes from."
That's great, man.
And I'm not saying like bring your kids to a plant like that. I don't know if that was good or bad. Or what, but
no, I think it is, because it's funny, because I started eating red meat this summer, I guess, again, and it's food is medicine. Like, still over 90% of my diet is plant based, but I've had to increase my red meat because I'm anemic, and so on Thanksgiving we had elk steak.
Oh wow!
I kept calling it Ella steak, and she was getting so mad at me. It's not Ella steak. You sure it's not Ella steak? Anyway, and we were eating it, and Ella's very connected with nature, especially because her dad is a fisher and spends all of his time outdoors. And when Bex was telling Ella that we were going to eat elk, she goes, "Mom, you can't eat elk until you shoot it first."
like she gets it.
She understands the whole process, and she understands what it takes. To get an animal on your plate, you first have to kill it. And I think you're right. It helps you appreciate the overall experience. Now, do you want to take a couple of 5-year-old kids who don't have any idea where meat comes from and set them in a factory farm butchering plant? No, I mean that's terrible and traumatizing. But if you can condition someone from an early age to understand, as opposed to conditioning them to think that food is just ultimately readily available, like you and I thought growing up. Then, because even though we grew up poor, like food was just, it was still available, right? It was crap food, but it was still there, man. Yeah. So, that is.
It was a heck of an experience, man. It was, can't even explain it, but it totally, I guess, just helped me. I can't explain why. I really can't put my finger on it, but it really helped me just appreciate even more. Like, we were eating some lamb stew last night, and it's like, wow, like there's a lot of work that goes into this meat, especially like it being raised, grass-fed, finished with hay, yada, yada, yada. It makes the meal that much more enjoyable, and it just keeps me, grounded, I guess.
There's gratitude there for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to Right Here, Right Now. This is where we get to talk about what's going on in the lives of the Minimalists. Great news. We heard you loud and clear. Our documentary, Minimalism, a documentary about the important things, is finally available on Netflix this week that this episode is airing. So this will be airing on the 13th in 2 days on December 15th. Minimalism, a documentary about the important things, will finally be available on Netflix.
Does this mean we made it?
We made it onto Netflix, yes. If you don't have Netflix, that's okay, because obviously it's still available on iTunes and Google Play and Amazon and worldwide on Vimeo. I know in some countries, for whatever reason, certain laws, it's not available on iTunes or Netflix in every country, but it's available worldwide on Vimeo. It's also available in North America on DVD. If you're still old school and still have that DVD player hooked up, then we've got you covered. We just hope that you minimize the film afterward, pass it on to someone else who can get value from it. It makes a great stocking stuffer, but only if it's a used DVD. Also, we're going on tour a little bit next year. We're doing a few small tour stops next year. We don't have any announcements yet in terms of cities. That's coming very soon, but you can subscribe to our email newsletter at theminimalists.com to be the first to hear about the upcoming events. We're going to do 3 or 4 at a time. We're going to bring a simple idea to your city, and together we're going to deconstruct that idea. We're going to talk about that idea, and we're going to listen to you and everything you have to say about that idea. So it's some new material that we're going to be building throughout 2017. So make sure you're on our email newsletter. Just go to theminimalists.com and type in your email there at the top where it says email newsletter. That's about it, Ryan. I'm doing some traveling this month. We were talking about that before the podcast started rolling. I'm headed to Dayton soon. Los Angeles for a long weekend. That's going to be fun. Like Bex and I just have like a 4-day weekend without Ella, so we're going to be in Los Angeles. No public events going on, but I'll be back in St. Pete for Christmas time. We're doing some coffee house upgrades. Our coffee shop there, Bandit Coffee Co. We're doing some upgrades to the shop, to the retail space. And I've been playing around with the Minimalist city finds on Instagram, posting pictures of, like, whenever I go to a new city, and
cool museums or
museums,
coffee shops, just
indie businesses, cryotherapy, float tanks, whatever it may be. Just creating these new experiences in different cities, trying to really catalog a way for people, if they go to a city like St. Petersburg or Dayton, Ohio, or Los Angeles, to have a reference of, well, here are some places the Minimalists like. So you can find that over on our Instagram page at the Minimalists. Hope you find some value in that.
All right, finally, here are some voicemail comments and tips from our listeners.
Hi, my name is Jessica. I'm calling from Las Vegas, Nevada. I was just calling to make a comment or a suggestion, I guess, about going minimal with children. I was listening to a previous podcast of yours, and somebody said that their daughter's stuff was driving them crazy. And I just think that a lot of the stuff that our children accrue is through gifts from birthdays and holidays, etc., from grandparents and other family members. So what I've decided to do with my son is he wants to go to Disneyland for his birthday. So what we're doing is we're asking people, instead of buying him gifts, to get him gift cards to Disney for his birthday. So that will kind of help fund that experience for him. So they're gifting him an experience instead of gifting him in physical toys or physical things. And it doesn't have to be Disney. It could be anything like children's museums or like a live show. A cartoon that he watches is doing a live show here, so that's another option. There's lots of indoor activities for kids here in Las Vegas, so they could definitely get gift cards to any type of things like that, or sporting event, a zoo, anything like that. And then you could just send them a picture of your child at the event or whatever, and that will, make them feel good about getting them an experience versus getting them a physical toy. Because it can be awkward for grandparents to make that transition. And a friend of mine was actually saying that she has her child donate a toy every time she gets a new one. So that's kind of another option. You just have to do what works best for your own child and your own family.
My name is Lindsay. I'm from Pottsville, Pennsylvania, and I'm calling about your episode on gift giving because I had a response to it. I love your ideas about giving experiences, taking people to events and things like that. And I have a little bit more to add to that. I am a single person who lives at home and I have no children, but I have a lot of friends who are married and have kids. And sometimes giving them tickets or gift certificates or things like that to events and experiences can become a little bit burdensome because, like one of my friends has to get a babysitter and that runs really expensively. So one of the things that I am doing for her and her husband for this Christmas is I am buying them tickets to go see a show, but then also including with it a little coupon for one free night of babysitting. I know both of their sons and they're super cool and fun to hang out with and they trust me, so it would be cool to get them out of the house, and also they can have faith in me that things are going to go well at home as well.
Hi, my name is Susan. I'm a working mom in Havertown, Pennsylvania, and I have twin 3-year-old boys. And I have a great tip that's worked out in terms of sharing minimalist ideologies with my children. I'm sure that I know one of you has a little kid in your life, and they grow so quickly out of toys, and there's just this accumulation of junk. And instead of telling them, oh, well, there's kids that, really need these toys, which I don't think it's great to talk about guilt and privilege with toddlers, we'll say, oh, you've really grown out of these toys. What if we donate them and we can make more space? And I'll tell you what, we'll get one, big boy toy that really suits your needs right now. And they love that. And both of them filled up a garbage bag recently, and we donated it to the Goodwill. And I plan on doing it maybe every 6 months. And I'll even say, look at all this extra space we have to play with Blue, or that's our dog, or play monsters or hide and seek. And they're all about it. So it's just really worked for me to not do the guilt of, oh, lots of kids need these toys, or you're so lucky and you should really share. So I just wanted to share that with the other parents out there, the people with little kids in their lives.
All right, y'all, that's it for this episode. If you have a question for the Minimalists, give us a call, 406-219-7839. And if you leave here with just one message, we hope it's this: love people and use things, because the opposite never works. Thanks for listening, y'all.
We'll see you next time.
Every little thing you think that you need, every little thing you think that you need, every little thing that's just feeding your greed. Oh, I bet that you'd be fine without it. Every little thing that you gotta have, every little thing that you gotta have, you gotta reach for and you gotta grab. Oh, I bet that you'd be fine without it. So tear your eyes